I did not.
Oh, okay, because I think that's like considered the ultimate game-breaking thing when you have the juggler in your party who can basically make anyone go first, and you just basically bounce characters up to the top of the queue, the action queue, and don't even let the enemies move.
Yeah, turn manipulation was very broken in that game. But has anyone else gone back and played it since then? I know that obviously you, Jeremy, don't like it still.
Well, actually, I played like 10 hours of it when it first came out and said, maybe I'll come back to it. And then I finally went back to it like 2 or 3 years ago, and that's when I played more in depth. And I got to the the end of the game and said, I am just not feeling any motivation to keep going, so I'm going to play something else.
I do have a Final Fantasy Tactics Advance story because it was the launch title for the Game Boy Advance SP. Came out on the same day.
Right.
Oh yeah, there was a limited edition system, right?
Yeah.
Were you still in Japan when that came out?
I was still in Japan. It was only sold at 7-Elevens. It was a pearl white colored Game Boy Advance SP bundled with Final Fantasy Tactics Advance.
And had a very nice big box for it.
Yeah, with a box and everything. And
did you buy that? So you bought that one?
Yeah, I bought that one because I needed an SP and I wanted to buy that game. So what the hell? And I went down to 7-Eleven and I pre-ordered it. 7-Elevens are like everywhere in Japan. They sell everything, right? And it came with a poster that I still have that was a Final Fantasy 12 judge riding a chocobo, and this was the first piece of Final Fantasy 12 art that had ever been released, but they didn't actually call it that at the time.
They did that. I mean, they did that with 10-2. They had that. Remember there was that poster of Gunslinger Yuna that they released at at
Tokyo Game Show.
Yeah, and it was Tokyo Game Show, and it was like, we're not going to say why we released this poster of Gunslinger Yuna, but here it is.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
Just enjoy the hot pants.
Actually, you want to hear a funny story about GBA SP? I bought mine from Ryan O'Donnell because he worked at the EB in the mall in Southern California when it came out.
Did you know each other?
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, I know this is kind of embarrassing, I guess, for Ryan. Sorry, Ryan. But, like, Ryan was, like, friends with my friends, and this is when I worked at GameSpy. And he was like the really smart, interesting, fun gamer guy who worked at EB, who was probably too smart to work at EB.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
There's always one of those at like one random EB or Babbage's or whatever. There's like the guy who is really, really into games and knows a lot and is way too awesome to be working there, but he makes shopping there so good.
Yeah, so I actually bought my GBA SP from Ryan O'Donnell. But it was regular, just blue one.
All right, good story. Good call.
Yeah,
thank you.
Frank is bored, so we're going to drop you now.
And Christian, you are absolutely right. His country should change its name to like Shamalama Ding Dong, so he can be from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Shamalama Ding Dong. Who do we write to
That's
get
racist.
that to happen?
Canada.
All right, Frank, we'll make sure this next caller is someone who asks a question that you like. Hello, welcome to Retronauts. Please ask a question that Frank Cifaldi finds suitably awesome.
That's me.
Hey, how you doing? This is Tony from Dayton.
Hi, Tony. What's your awesome question or comment?
I was going to ask if you had any recommendations for import Game Boy Advance games, like from Japan or Europe.
Francis?
Ooh, I do. I have a really good recommendation from Europe. No, it's not. A European one. And I actually, this is a fun story too. Go Go Beckham. Has anybody ever played that?
Oh, that's like the soccer RPG starring David Beckham, right?
Exactly. It's not no, it's not.
Well,
that was like Soccer Island or something.
No, yeah. So Go Go Beckham is a heavily influenced by Yoshi's Island 2D platformer that was released only in the European market. Basically, this company called Rage that used to exist but no longer exists got the Beckham license, and it was apparently such a free in terms of they didn't have to get approval for everything that they could just pump out Beckham games. And they were like, well, we have the license. We have this developer Denki, if anyone's familiar with Denki. They made Denki Blocks, which came out in America, which is actually a fun puzzle game for GBA. I recommend checking out Denki Blocks, which is also, I believe, on iOS now. If you can, it's fun. But Denki, they're like, Denki, you guys are like crazy into Nintendo type style games. Why don't you make a platformer with David Beckham? So it's got this super cute, like Koji Kondo wannabe music, like Yoshi's Island wannabe backgrounds. You kick soccer balls at enemies, platformer. And the other fun thing about that is I walked all over London with Kevin Gifford looking for a copy of it, and I finally found it. And so,
that's
awesome.
Wow, that's a recommendation.
I was going to say from Europe, Kurokurokurorin, which is, that was a Japanese game, but it was only released in English in Europe. But that's kind of boring compared to
I have a way more boring recommendation.
Yeah, do it.
Go on. The first Rhythm Tengoku.
Yeah.
That's not boring. That's awesome.
It's a good,
That game's so much better than the DS one. No, it's way better.
They're comparable.
It's way better. It's so much better.
But very, very good game. Still, you could play it just fine without being.
You get to use the A button. You don't have to do those meticulous swipes on the screen.
I guess that's true.
The songs are awesome, and they released it in the arcade too. I played it in the arcade when I was at TGS. Was it 2 years ago? Maybe it was last year. I don't know.
Wow.
And yeah, it's like you have these two big buttons basically, and it has all the games from the GBA game, but they're like in the arcade, and you can really get into it because it's very rhythm oriented.
Did you ever play Klonoa Heroes? The action
it's
RPG?
not that good,
isn't it? Because
No.
I was talking to Nick DeVar, and he
It's
super
super simplistic.
Okay.
I love Klonoa, but I thought Klonoa Heroes was kind of
Okay, so that's an anti-recommendation from Jeremy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what Japanese games I have that are like not available in America.
This is probably just me, but I really enjoyed Elevator Action Old and New, developed by Mediakite. It was kind of like a super cutesy elevator action game that took a few elements from Elevator Action Returns, but
I always wanted to get it. I never got
much more simplistic. I really enjoyed that. I played like all the way through it. It had a bunch of levels, and I've cleared the game with both or all three characters.
Were there Technos Kunio-kun compilations in Japan on the GBA?
Didn't they come out here though? Didn't some of them come out here?
Not the compilations. There were some compilations that came out in Japan.